Welcome back to the Rhetoric Warriors podcast, where we are teaching America to talk good.
Yeah.
I'm Dr. Dan French, American rhetorician, escaped professor, stand-up comedian, and comedy writer from late night in Hollywood. If you want some jokes, follow us on Twitter at Rhetoric War. Here's a joke from the week. I noticed this week that if it's a film about a woman who starts her own farm, at some point she's going to lose her crop and say, just let it go. There's always crop peril in those movies.
Well, when you got a farm, what else you got?
Locusts, cold, floods, rustlers rustling the corn. Always something coming for you.
Corn rustlers. I come from a long line of corn rustlers. It's not as romantic a thing as like a cow rustler.
Yeah, but they're, you know where they are.
It's steady work.
You know where the corn is.
Yeah.
So this is the Rhetoric Warriors podcast, where I convert conservatives. It's always fun. I talk to comedians about their politics, and I get persuasion advice from great persuasion pros. You can go to rhetoricwarriors.com, sign up for one of our courses. There's a master course in modern persuasion. Just launched Converting Conservatives. Change the world by bringing one person back to reality at a time. And pretty soon I'm going to have Luring the Lunatic Left.
Wow. That's some alliteration.
Right? Invite other people back to your reality, whatever your reality is. This week on the Rhetoric Warriors podcast, we have a comedian, good buddy of mine. We've known each other for a long time, both from Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Both 57, right?
No, baby. I'm 58, man.
Whoa.
I just turned 58.
So Lawrence Thomas is a great comedian, super dude, great personality to hang out and talk to, and also world's favorite bartender now in California.
Yeah,
California bartender.
Yeah, that's it. Sunshine.
Beach
It's just like that movie with Tom Cruise and what was that? Like a cocktail. That's me. Oh, totally. I'm shaking over my head and spinning glasses.
Which do you emphasize, Lawrence? The cock or the tail?
It's a combination.
Everybody, welcome Lawrence Thomas.
Yay!
Rugger comic.
What's up, man?
You know, doing my thing. We're talking some rhetoric, talking some politics, and we'll teach some people some things, right?
There you go. If I can't teach them, nobody can. We'll whack them on the head.
Beach, waiting to see if you've got COVID today, right?
That's true. Yeah, I was exposed on Monday, and I took the test yesterday.
What was your exposure? What happened?
I had an audition that I wanted to work with a coach on, and my acting coach. I mean, we were far apart. She wore an N95 mask. She had on the plastic face shield. But we were in a small theater with no circulation, and she called me yesterday and said, hey, man, I just tested positive. I'm so sorry. I'm like, well, hell. So
it's the new STD. Like, you can't get,
right.
You got to call people and be like, hey, sorry, man.
Hey, sorry about this. So I'm hoping she's okay. She says she just feels like she's got a little cold, but she went in and got tested. I feel fine, but
well, that's the crazy thing about this virus, right? It's the range of effects. Like if it was Ebola, you got it and you start bleeding out of your skull, right? Everybody would know, oh yeah, you know what? I'm going to wear a whole body mask. Like I'll never go outside.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing that about viruses in general. I was talking to my friend who's a emergency room physician here, and like at the end of November, she goes, Lawrence, I'm terrified. I go, what? She goes, yeah, it's going to get bad. And but she said, here's the thing, and I don't know how much. She said, like the fatality is going down, which is with all viruses, because the virus wants to live, and if a virus is like Ebola, and you just start bleeding out of every hole in your body, it kills you too fast to spread it around.
Right.
I mean, so that technically that's, that's the layman's person. So, I mean, but I mean, I know a guy that was just like tweeting, well, tonight's the night I'm going to die, when he had it. And then I know people that were like, nah, I didn't even lose my taste, and I didn't lose my smell. So, I mean, it's just crazy.
Well, that's one of the things, like, it's a great issue for persuasion and rhetoric because there's so much play in it on the interpretation of it, of where it came from, how you
Right.
get it. There's been so much lack of information that it's allowed misinformation to come in and get mixed in with real information, which is constantly shifting to other new real information. So it's a horrible way to try to make a logical choice about things.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, well, do I need to call off work? So I've got somebody on standby if I test positive to work for me. And, so, and then you got people say, well, I mean, how long have you been waiting before you got tested and blah, 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 and it's just like, it's this crazy amount of, we're supposed to be opening today it's rainy. So I don't think but we're opening back up for outdoor dining.
Okay.
And so that's been I mean, to me, like one of the bars I work at is on the pier in Redondo Beach. And I mean, if you sneeze, the COVID virus is in Riverside in 10 seconds because it's so windy. I mean, and to me, out there, I still wear the mask and everything, but I mean, it just feels safer.
Huh.
That
Interesting.
2 day that 2 weeks that we were open, like they tried to reopen at 50%. And you've been in OB's, it's not a big bar, a
Yeah,
big
like, I
pub,
can't
whatever.
imagine. Just the
And
peanuts
I mean,
themselves would kill half the
it was
population.
crazy. I've got 3 fans behind me on the bar pointing out like my little hot zone thing, blowing people's filth back at them, and people were yelling at me. I had regulars coming in the bar holding their mask in their hands. And I would go, you have to put on your mask to come. God damn it, Lawrence. What the hell? And I saw a person just turn and sneeze on another person. Not cover their mouth, not do anything. So I'm kind of in the middle of this. I have people going, well, goddamn Newsom, I want him recalled. But then I'm like, I also see when people drink just hugging each other, yeah, just up in each other's faces and stuff. And you're like, well, maybe he's not so wrong. I
Well, and
mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like, you look at things like this, and it's not like something that we've had experience with. This was dropped into the middle of the human population. The last time I had anything close to this, was 100 years ago. Nobody's ever been trained to this, and then suddenly you have this mass of people way over here in their fear about it, people way over here, but they all get mixed together, and then you're like, well, why can't we just all get along?
right. Yeah. So, I mean, and people, it's like this personal. I mean, here's my, like, so I'm trying to, hey, you know what? Science. I've always been kind of science is science. And so we've got the chip path in Manhattan Beach, and I walk the dog on a chip path because it's farther away, so when you're supposed to be 6 feet apart and you're supposed to be wearing a mask and blah, blah, blah. And the runners, I don't know what it is with runners, but why can't you? I mean, they just like, so if there's 2 people coming both ways, there's only 6, the path's only like 10 feet wide. So you try to stay, and they'll just run. The runners just come. They don't care. They're just right next to you, huffing and puffing. And I'm like, hey, Prefontaine, you're not going for a record here. You can stop. You can break your pace just a little bit. I don't think that, coach is going to call you up anytime soon, that you really need to be making time on the chip path in Manhattan Beach. So one day I just carried the whole time a handful of salt of the chips. And if somebody was running and they were going to get close to me, I would just toss the chips up in the air so they'd have to run through the wood chips. And people were so pissed and yelling and fuck you, buddy. And I'm like, hey, man, 6 feet. That's all I'm saying. Just stay the fuck
Did you
away.
really? That's
Oh, yeah.
hilarious.
2 or 3 times. And people, but I mean, is a runner going to whoop me? I mean, although I know this guy that played professional football and he's been running. I was like, yeah, he would kick my ass. But, hold on, this is the test.
All right, we're gonna
Okay.
pause.
All right. Lawrence Thomas, yeah.
Hi, this is Cynthia calling you from X-Ray Manhattan Beach. Can I have you verify your date of birth, please?
12/22/62.
Okay, so I was told that you wanted your results for the COVID test, the in-house one.
Yeah.
Okay, so that one is negative, and
Right. So the quick.
That one comes within 3 to 5 days.
Okay, the quick test is negative. The PCR test we don't know yet. Okay.
It's still pending.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Take
All right. Bye.
I
So the
recorded
quick.
that just in case you were. This was the moment when we found out that you were going to be dead in
This is it.
8 minutes.
That could be on one of those videos, where I'm cussing at people on them. Yeah, man. So I'm just like, at one point I had like I figure my arm's 3 feet long. So I had a piece of crown molding, not crown molding. It was like shoe molding, like quarter round, a 3 foot piece of fucking, I would just swing it and shit. And, I was just like, it was driving me crazy. Just like I said, it's the runners. And I just like, why do you could have slowed down. There was 3 old ladies and me. You didn't need to just fucking slow down. Give your 6 feet. Or whatever. And
Be killed by a jogger. That would be bad.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
I'd have to mention that at the eulogy.
I hope he was a sprinter and not like a steeplechase runner, jumping over puddles.
Like Lawrence was a lifelong swimmer, and he knew
Exactly.
what was up with these runners, but they got him anyway.
So yeah, so that's
it's just fascinating to watch. We are not equipped to be able to do high, complexity conflict between each other. Nobody gets any kind of training. And like, I have a thing I was working on this morning about, if you want to argue with me, here are my argument rules. Like, I don't argue with people I don't know because it's unpleasant. It just goes badly.
All right.
And so like with you, like, I love your conflict skills, legendary.
Yeah. Yes, legendary. Okay, we're fighting. Okay, you don't agree with me? We're fighting.
I've seen you threaten more strangers in less time for less provocation than anybody I know.
Yeah.
Tell the story of North Carolina.
Well, I don't. What did he say?
How about your wife?
Right? Yeah, he said something about my wife, and I go, "Hey, man." So I walked back.
Tell the story. You were doing stand-up. I used to say I've never seen Lawrence Thomas do a set of stand-up without threatening somebody in the audience with physical violence.
Right. Well, it was a weird night because I was on a co-headlining thing for 2 weeks with another comic, and
Was that Dickie Palmer?
No. It was Manny Oliveira, and so they called that night and said, and I was the opening co-headliner for the first week, and they called that night while we were sitting at the bar, and it's a fucking one-nighter, and the bartender goes, that was Brad Greenberg. He said Lawrence is closing the rest of the time. It just hung up, and so then I'm like, what?
It was in Carborough, right? It was right next to Chapel Hill at a
Pantana Bombs.
Okay.
At Pantana Bombs, and so the first 2 guys go up. I forgot who was emceeing, or if there was an MC. And it was just crazy loud, and the baseball team's at the back of at the back of the thing, and I'm
the UNC baseball team is there, right. Yeah.
And so I just cut into him. I'm like, and I think I kind of won in the crowd. I turned the crowd against that table, and I could have turned their dog against that table. The owner's dog against them that night. I felt like, and then we're walking out, and the guy came over, me and you. I got a bag of T-shirts and my cowboy boots on. We're walking across the parking lot, and the guy goes, "Hey man, come drink with us." And I go, "I'm not coming to drink with you, man. I gotta go." Then I finally go, "I gotta go back. My wife's in the hotel, or she's on the phone. I gotta call my wife in the hotel." And he goes, "She won't be there. She'll be with me." And I went, "What the fuck did you say?" And so I walk back. You're like, "Lawrence," and then I threw the lamest punch I've ever thrown in my life.
For a big dude, I always wondered, like, is that your best punch?
No. Well, but then again, I'm not a puncher. I'm a ground and pound guy. I'm a fucking I got in a bar fight at the bar one night. It was this awesome, crazy thing. And this guy goes, "I've never seen anybody rugby somebody like that before." He goes, "You just took him down, and he had his face in the pavement." And I'm like, "Hey man, I weigh 275. I'm using what I got. I'm not a fast puncher." So anyway, I punted. He didn't even. I mean,
it was some 20-year-old kid who played like right
Yeah.
field. He's a stud from UNC, and he looked at you like, "Is that it?"
Yeah. But luckily, the football team was the bouncers for the bar. And they just came and wiped them out.
Yeah.
Don't fuck with our comedians. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, man. That's hilarious, man.
So
Yeah.
that's the Lawrence Thomas conflict skills.
I've been at OB's bar for like 11 years. I think I've been in 11 bar fights.
Yeah, but
I've
like,
got this line. I've got that kitty, my mom. You knew my mom. My
yeah.
mom was this character, and I've got this line in the sand. It's like, I watched Duke when he bartended, and he would go, "Hey, man," and he'd be very zen, and somehow the people would just walk out. He would like mesmerize them. Well, I turned
Yeah, he
around,
has that kind of quality to him. Yeah.
yeah, and I go, people just bar up, and they're just like, "Oh, this is gonna be it." And it's just like two, and yeah, man, it's I
Well,
don't
I think
have
you
that
do. You have a
skill.
line where you're like, okay, you love people, you're great with people, but when people are misbehaving, you're like, you'll give them one shot of, hey, man, stop that. And if they say no or whatever, you go straight to nuclear,
Oh, I
DEFCON
just want,
9.
and I've got a little speech I give. I go, look, here's the deal. I go, you're leaving. Now, how you're going to leave, I don't know. I go, you can leave right now, and everything's fine. He goes, or we're gonna scrap, and I'm gonna get hurt, or you're gonna get hurt. We're both gonna get hurt possibly, or only. But here's the thing: I will still be here. You will be in jail. I go, no. So those are your choices. I go, and I'm not afraid to fight you. I don't care. I go, I've been beat up by bigger people than you, and then I'll go, look, I watched my brother and my dad die of cancer. I go, and my dream is to die in a bar fight. I don't want to go in that, laying there fucking gasping for air with 2 morphine pumps connected to me. I go, this would be great. I would be a legend. And Lawrence Thomas died in a bar fight. I mean, well, Will Marfori?
I don't think so.
He's a brilliant stand-up comic, and he lived with me for a while in the cubby hole. One time he was like, hey man, I need a place to stay for the night. And I said, okay. And he came in, and then he goes, hey, would you rent? He's the first person I ever rented the cubby hole to.
Okay.
I was like, I wouldn't. I go, it's just for my fee. He goes, I'm going to be, I'm a cruise ship comic now. I'm in LA. I need to be here for like 8 days, a month. I'll give you whatever for it. So we're in, it's like raging traffic. We're on Fairfax. We just go through Fairfax. We're like up by the Kmart on Fairfax, up in close to West Hollywood. I don't know where we're going. And we're in the Jeep, and he's sitting there, and we're talking. And this guy just forces his way through 6 lanes of traffic and puts his car right in front of me. And he's just like, people are honking. It was just like he was going to do it. He didn't give a shit. So I snapped, and I got out and started pounding on the window of his car, and I'm like, get out of there, you son of a bitch. You think you're more important than all these fucking people, and blah, 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 blah. And then I get back in the car, and I'm immediately embarrassed, and I apologize to Will. And Will, who is kind of small and has muscular dystrophy. And I'm apologizing, and Will goes, oh my God, that was the best thing I've ever seen. I wish I could be so free with my emotions. And I'm like, what? I go, it's killing me.
Oh, that's great. I love, my favorite part of that whole little run there was you having cancer built into your bar fight speech.
Well, I am who I am, I'm a creature of what I got going on in my life,
That's
my big
amazing.
fear, man. I've seen too much of it. And I just had face cancer. I don't think you call it face cancer. Lawrence has face cancer. But I just had this skin cancer removed on right underneath my eye. I think it's fine. But I mean, when you've had people die of cancer, 2 people in your family, and my mom actually probably kind of died. She got cancer and then kind of quit living. But I don't think the cancer didn't kill her. But I mean, so yeah, that fucking cancer scares me. So I'm not, like I said, I've never, I remember when I was a kid, we were jacking around behind 1400 Willow when it was under construction. You were like 12 drinking and, stupid shit like that. And me and all my buddies, and this guy is on the other side of the fence, and he's yelling at us, y'all, you kids need to get out of here. And he pulls out a gun and he points it at us. And everybody else is like, and I just start beating on the fence. Go, you fucking who you think you are? We're kids. You're fucking pulling a gun on me. I'll kick you. I mean, what kind of bullshit is that? It's crazy. So
Yeah. Is that the only time you ever had a gun pulled on you in Kentucky? I had 3.
I've had 2 guns pulled on me, but at 12,
12's pretty good. Yeah, you get
Yeah.
me beat. I was
and
full
you know,
grown.
the neighborhood I grew up in. I didn't grow up in like a scary
No, I
neighborhood.
should have had a lot more guns than you.
Yeah, I was going to
You're on the
say, where
south
you're
side.
from. Yeah, South Side. You should have more guns than me.
My grandmother pulled a gun on me once.
Ah, that was the so well. So that's it.
But it's, that is like, it's a great example of conflict. What do you do when, especially like in public, you get this public conflicts with people you don't know. You've got to resolve it. It's got to come to a conclusion because you need that person to do something, right? And you're giving them, you're persuading them, and you're literally giving him options.
Yeah,
You're saying, here's what's going to happen. Now make a choice.
Yep. It's crazy. I tell you I don't know if this probably isn't part of the rhetoric thing, but we're talking about the bar fight thing. I've got this girl that comes in. Whenever she comes in, she goes, "Lawrence is my hero. He saved me from a guy in a bar fight. He defended my honor." And I was like, talk about terrible punches. This was the best punch I ever threw. And the cops laughed at this guy was crazy and blah. Anyway, but the thing about drunks in bars when you're kicking them out is you can they're kind of malleable until you get them by the door.
Right.
And then it's like, if I go outside, he wins, and so that's when they lock up, and that's what, you can walk a guy around, but when they get by the door, they lock up and they stiff up, and this is where they're going to make their
last stand.
It's like Custer, if I get kicked out of this bar, my life is over, So, but I will say this about me. Duke always says, Lawrence rages out, but I've never seen him rage out negatively. Like I've never seen him rage out over the wrong thing. He's always raging out for the common good. That's what he says. He goes, Lawrence rages out for the common good, for his morals and his stance.
Yeah, you always pick the right people. You don't throw out the wrong people. Like they deserve it, right?
Well, I think so. I got a guy came in and goes, "You kicked me out in the beginning of COVID because I wouldn't wear a mask." He goes, "I'll fucking kick you out again." I go, what the hell? You weren't wearing a mask. That was the rules. I didn't make the rules. You can't come in if you don't have a mask.
Well, and this is, again, like, I think there's some lessons here for the people. You're very clear and verbal and upfront about what you accept and what you don't.
Yeah.
And so people can make a choice at that point.
Yeah.
And if they make the wrong choice, there's going to be consequences.
But I'm here admitting that I'm probably a good 45% winner in fights. So you got a chance. I'm just saying that you're still going to go out. You may whoop me, but I'm not going to. That's my thing. I told somebody in the dog park the other day, we were talking. I go, look, that's what I've always got. I know that I'm always ready to go there. That's my end game. It's not my end game. I don't want that, but that's the stopping point. Are you willing to? That's the whole question. If you're willing to go, then we're going to end up going, unless you obey the rules. I mean, it's kind of simple. I mean, that gives me my, Well,
it gives you an orientation to the world. Like I said, it's very clear. Follow the rules, or Lawrence is going to tackle you.
I think it's actually Kitty's rules now that I think about it.
Yeah, well, I think, a lot of that stuff when I try to do this sort of rhetoric training with people because it's literally verbal MMA, right? It's ways to try to get people to do things just with words, and emotions and all that kind of stuff, but to make people strong enough with the words that they don't have to go to the physical. But like that's a super well scripted thing about the bars, but you're dealing with drunks.
Right.
So logic and good scripts and everything else eventually is not going to work. You're going to have to go to power.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Drunks are crazy.
So do you do this like do you carry this over into like your interpersonal relationships? Like, not that you threaten, people like friends and, people you go out with about, hey, either we're having dinner tonight at 7 or we're going to go.
No, I totally don't want to be in charge anywhere else in life. I've given a job at the bar, or like I was like that on stage.
Yep.
And at the bar when I'm working. But other than that, no. Although, like, I think just the opposite. Like when me and Laura Kay, my ex-wife, we used to argue, I would just like go, look, I don't want to argue, and she would want, she'd be like, I go, look, I said, I'm sorry. That's, I'm sorry. What else do you want? I'm sorry. Well, yeah, we need to discuss it. No, I'm done. I'm sorry. I didn't, I don't. And that would make her more mad, and I wasn't trying to, but I don't, that's my whole thing about, like, I was going out with this girl, wanted to know if I want to go. I go, I'll go out with you, but I'm never going to be yelled at again. My mom yelled at me. My ex-wife yelled at me. I don't want to be yelled at. If you're a yeller, let's not do this, because I'm not going to be yelled at. I'll just walk away. And it's not, oh, you're not committed. No, I just don't fucking want to be yelled at. My mom yelled my entire life, and I'm a yeller, and I don't want to be.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I've had acting
again,
coaches.
you get this sort of training on conflict from your family, and it becomes, you have an emotional attachment to your scripts, to your techniques. And because you don't have any others, like, you run through those, and then you're like, that's what I got.
Right.
And, I remember my old man, he had, he was a fairly easygoing guy and logical, and you talk to him, but then if he told you what to do and you wouldn't do it, then his only other gear was, explosion. And you're like, okay, well, there's a lot of other options, in between, hey, talking rationally and then, complete physical explosion.
Right.
But a lot of, where we came from in Kentucky, those are the two options, right?
Yeah.
I told you what to do. You didn't do it, so you're going to get this.
Right.
I'm like,
yeah,
that's pretty
exactly
bipolar.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I had the yin and yang of that in my family, because my dad was this chill musician, artist who, he had a temper, but I mean, he would just be like, hey, man. I remember going, how can you like University of Kentucky and the University of Louisville? He goes, we got two good teams. Why shouldn't I like them both? I'm like, oh, fuck you. Come on. Just he was that, just playing guitar and go, look, man, just do this, do that.
Well, and you've got that in your personality. You've got a lot of that in your personality.
I know it, but it seems like when the rules are being broken, I automatically revert to Kitty and not Bill.
Right.
Well,
that's your. He didn't do conflict. You did. She did conflict.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So.
Well, that's that's exactly it. So.
Well, and I think giving people instruction like that about how to deal with you, like, hey, just don't yell at me, because that's a conflict style or whatever that I can't handle, and I will not be in relationships with people who use that conflict style. I think that's totally fair. Now, can they adjust? A lot of people can't just adjust their techniques. Like people who need to process, like you're talking about Laura Kay or whatever. If you're like that, and that's what you've been trained to, like high emotional, high verbal processing, then it's frustrating if somebody won't go through that storm with you.
Right.
But if they're clear about, hey, I don't like that storm, then they've either got to come up with a new, system, or like you said, you shouldn't, be trying to do these complex relationships together.
Right. Well, I don't know that I deal with complex relationships at all.
Any relationship, anytime two people are stuck in a house together,
yeah,
it becomes a complicated relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, your dog, what's your new dog's name?
Bluto.
Bluto.
Yeah.
Well, I remember Ollie, when I stayed at your place, and Ollie and I developed a relationship when you were gone, of him licking my head at 5:30 a.m. to go out and, walk him. And I'm like, okay, Ollie, I guess this is part of our deal.
Oh yeah, man. So that's it. That's the way I deal with stuff, I guess. And then you when you self-reflect. Well, like I was telling, I'm a big dude, and I come off as bigger than I am, I think, or maybe come off, I don't know, but I'm
those
big.
Thunderous calves that throw people. Yeah. Those Thor like, lower appendages of yours.
So then I'm so when I'm talking, like I've had several acting coaches go, everybody else I have to draw out. I have to push way back because
Yeah.
you're such a big guy and you're such a big personality and you're so, you so and that's something I have to watch. Like one time somebody's like, "Why are you yelling at me?" I go, "I'm not yelling at you. What are you talking about? We're having a conversation." She goes, "Man, you're yelling." I go, "No, I'm not. What are you talking about?" So that then you reflect on that. You're like, "Well, what am I? How can I change that?"
Well, what are your politics in California? I mean, you lived in California for a long time now. I always
Yeah.
knew you as kind of a moderate guy. Like you're probably, I don't think you're conservative. I think you have typically good logic skills. Like you think about things. You don't believe crazy conspiracy shit.
Right.
You're
No,
more
not.
conservative than super liberal. I think you're very accepting of people.
Yeah, I think that what I used to tell people, I go, well, what I'm kind of proud of is when I go back to Kentucky, all my friends are like, look at Mr. Liberal. And then when I got out of California, they were like, well, if it isn't Mr. Conservative, you know. Dan Rosen was always calling me up and going, "What I see what your people do." I was like, "They're not my people. I lived in Kentucky. They're not, And he was always on. I'm a gun owner. I own 2 guns. I'm not crazy about it. I don't like. I go to As a matter of fact, I was the last time I went to buy bullets. I was at the gun shop, and this guy's getting his new gun or whatever. He was next to me, and a guy was dealing with him, and I was dealing with the guy that was my thing. And he goes, "Hey, you want to join the NRA?" And the guy next to him goes, "Don't bother. I dealt with that guy the last time." And I go, "No. Why would I join the fucking NRA?" I go, "They don't care about gun owners. They care about gun dealers. They care about gun manufacturers. It has nothing to do with me. I just want to go shoot my little gun, pew pew pew, and at targets and stuff like that." And maybe go skeet shooting or something like that. I don't care. I go, no, I don't want to be. So I used to be totally conservative on because I was very Catholic, and then I gave all that up. So I was totally pro-choice. I mean, pro-life at one point, not too long ago, 25 years ago. And then over the years, I was just like, this is stupid. And I'm not pro-abortion, but I'm not pro-life. I don't, I'll be pro-life when we care about that Syrian baby that washed up on shore face down in that picture. When they care about that baby as much as they care about a glob of cells that's been in a woman's body for 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's a limited pro-life.
Right.
Yeah. It's not across the board love of life.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of a missed term, which is, that's part of the thing about abortion. What makes it such a difficult thing is both sides are right. Nobody wants to, kill babies
Right.
at whatever stage that baby is. Nobody's like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
But realistically, you have to have that as a possibility in a medically, advanced culture for women. Both
I've
of those
always
positions are right.
What I've always said is why, and I mean, I'm going to catch hell from this. Let's have a national referendum and pick an age, but don't let any men vote. Just let women vote. Since it's women's bodies, just let them vote. We'll just give it a shot for, 2 years. So this is a 2-year law. And so I've always said, well, the youngest that a baby has ever lived is 23 weeks or 24 weeks. So pick for 2 years, let's try 24 weeks, unless the woman's life is, in danger, then you can have, let the doctors out or whatever. But up to 23 weeks, just let, because I mean, it's, all these people, it's a baby and it feels pain. Well, I mean, how do you know? Well, science. Well, you don't believe in science when it comes to the environment. You don't believe in science when it comes to this. All of a sudden, now you're scientific. What the fuck?
Yeah. See,
So just try it, just for 2 years.
This is one of the reasons I like talking to comedians about this stuff, because comedian minds come up with, weird solutions that actually make sense.
No.
Like I was thinking today, I was driving home and I was like, all these billionaires, it's not that they have too much money. It's just that they have too much freedom of what to do with it. Like they should have to sponsor a city. Like Bezos, 80% of his money should have to go to like Bezosia. And he has no power there. He's not the governor or anything else, but his money has to fuel that city,
Well,
And so, yeah, he knows that anytime he wants to go and have a good time, hey, everybody's going to be, grateful to Bezos and Bezosia.
yeah, I like that.
But,
I'm all in
we
on that.
need new solutions, and comedians are great at coming up with
Yeah.
that stuff.
I think every woman I know is going to hate me for saying that now. Well, it's my body. I shouldn't be time. And I don't think they should have time to do. But I mean, here's my absolute belief: if it weren't for abortion, the Republicans would never win another election.
Yeah, it's a tough
The
one. That is
it's
an
a
issue.
one
Yeah.
trick pony, man. Now with the introducing Trump, you've added some of the crazy whack job ideas, about, this QAnon fucking dude or whatever, and that crazy shit. But
But the abortion is like that, when they talk about single issue voters, that's still a super strong.
I got in a fight with a guy at the bar about, not a fight, but an argument. He's like, just up in
That's
my
probably a
face.
fight.
Oh yeah, well, and he goes, "What?" I go, "It's not." I go, "I don't care." I go, "You asked him out," and his wife is like, "Don't bring me into this. You need to talk to my wife." I go, "Why do you let your wife talk?"
What are you talking about abortion at the bar for?
Because he's a Trumper, and he started, and I was trying to just, also have that. I've had enough. Okay, look, I tried to talk sports to you. I tried to rearrange the conversation. I tried to steer you away, and now you wouldn't go there. So let's go.
That's nice.
So yeah, I don't know.
But it's like that idea. I don't think people will hate you for that, because you start out with, it's two separate ideas. I think it's a great idea. Just let women vote on this. There's absolutely zero reason any man should ever have a vote in that.
Yeah, it's stupid.
It doesn't work the other way around. Like, women can't, vote. Like, okay, you get 2 erections a day.
I'm happy with
duct
that.
taped.
Hey, give me the 2. I'm 58. I'll take 2. Like those ones you weren't thinking about that just pop up out of nowhere. Those are few and far between anymore. Just wait a second. I got a boner. What the hell how did that happen? Walking down the street, full mast. That doesn't happen anymore.
But they don't get to vote on our bodies. You can't say, okay, new law, men can't weigh over, 12% body fat.
Yeah.
You're going to jail for 30 days of no food.
Look at that guy.
So it's a very weird law. Like, our laws and our systems don't deal with that particular situation very well.
Right. Come on, I say, you know what? Can't somebody, what is that, the morning after pill? How about this? We give every woman in America 100 morning after pills the day she's born. That's what you get. Don't fucking waste them. That kind of gives the abstination people a little bit of power. And, God, I've only got 4 left. It's like being sponge-worthy on Seinfeld. And then nuns could sell theirs. People who don't, lesbians could sell theirs.
So you got a black market going. I like it.
It's free market. That's what that is, baby. You ask my politics.
That's the other thing I think about with you, like that I think I wouldn't place you into conservative, because I think you have too many open ideas about people being happy and being able to do, what they want to do. I would, put you somewhere in the middle, though, because I think you're very strong on not being told what to do, and finding logical things for people. And, I think that a lot of people in America, with our politics and our political terminology, we don't really know how to describe ourselves, because you have a strong social, cultural liberalness to you. You've been in comedy, you live in California, you work at a bar. It's not like you can be, judgmental of people all the time. You'd be unhappy all the time. And it wouldn't make any sense, because you meet a lot of different people and you're like, oh, these are all people. Cool. Right. But then on the other side, I know you don't like to be told what to do, and that conservative streak in Americans of, by God, I don't care what I'm doing.
Right.
Don't you tell me I can't do it.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, today they sent out a thing about the new outdoor dining. And one of the things, someone goes, well, what is this? Like, one of the things where it has to be constitute well, it has to be a legitimate meal, and or I forgot what not legitimate, but like a proper or something. And everybody's discussing. I just went unenforceable. That's just what I put down in the group text. I go, I don't, to that guy, a bag of chips is a fucking full meal. I mean, you can't tell me what a full meal is. That's stupid. So yeah, I mean, I do have that point in me. That's what got
you
me.
don't like stupid shit. Like if something's stupid in a law or a rule or an idea or whatever, and this is again comedians, they can't tolerate stupid shit.
Right.
And a lot of people, and I think that's a lot of the right. I think, when I talk about, luring the lunatic left, it's part of the thing about conservatives is they don't really always define themselves as conservatives, just as anti-liberal,
Right.
because coming to them seems so wrong and weird.
Right.
It's easy to point and go, well, that sounds stupid to me, and then that puts you in, opposition to, the progressives, which I think is a problem with the progressives. I think they're clumsy in a lot of their ideas, and they end up pushing people away when they don't really want to, or need to.
Well, I want to go up to Portland and go kitty on everybody in Portland. Just fucking wipe them out. Go, look, man, we're trying to do something out here, and y'all are up here bore-assing around. What the fuck?
Well, I don't know. I don't really know much about, the more activated militant part of the far left. I remember watching,
first of all,
watching them protest like G8 and things like that.
Right.
And there's always a violent element to whatever extreme politics you get to, because eventually it's like, hey, we're trying to get things in. It's not working. It's like you at your bar fight, It's like, well, we're going to have to go to power.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and at some point, that's that happens. I will say this about the violent, it's not Antifa. I get so sick of hearing people go, Antifa. Antifa has never held a rally. They go to rallies to say, hey, don't beat up that chick. Antifa's not this crazy.
It's a great demon word, though, man. Like,
I know
it's like as soon as they stop calling themselves anti-fascists, they lost, because Antifa means nothing. But anti-fascist, you can't say, hey, these anti-fascists are causing us a problem.
Yeah,
we're trying to get our fascism in, and
that's what a thing that my dad always said. He goes, the biggest problem we've ever made is changing the name of the War Department to the Defense Department, because everybody wants to spend on defense, nobody wants to spend money on war.
Yeah,
he always used to say
solid piece of rhetorical criticism.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, I'm just like, hey, you can't go. Biden just got in office. Now, you may not like him. I may like him. I may not like him, but he just got in office. You can't go storm the Democratic national headquarters or Oregon headquarters or whatever they did, because you're like, hey, what have you done? Like, I had a guy that was going on and on about something. I go, first of all, you've never participated in the system.
Right.
You can't rebel against the system until you've participated in it. You have to get in there and, have a job. I'm not saying that all those people don't have jobs, but I mean, you can't scare John and Ma Kettle in Iowa so bad by, that you blow your argument. You go, well, I don't, I'm not going to go become a liberal because look what they're doing over there.
Yeah,
and we
it's a tough one, because, even if they're not doing that much, so everybody always goes off on the media like it has some kind of planned bias, which it doesn't. It has storytelling bias. The right, has a bias because it's built along a axis of a different audience. It's built to appeal to a certain type of audience.
Right.
The left appeals to an audience, but it's like a humanist, liberal, it's a humanist, logical audience that's always been in America. It's the baseline of America. We all try to get along, try to be decent people, try to make sense of things. So it's not biased. It's just presenting to the way most humanity thinks of itself. And so, but it still has to tell stories. And so it's a much better story that the left is, got a violent streak in it. And let's cover the violent streak. And then everybody looks at the violent streak. And then you start getting real perception problems.
Right.
And I mean, being sophisticated enough to figure that out is one thing, but then be able to control it, again, Antifa and all that's not organized. How are you going to control these 10 idiots who decide that they like throwing fucking Molotov cocktails?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the guy that started Antifa was just a big dude who's like, you know what? If some guys like me had showed up in Nazi Germany and said, hey, no, you're not going to, then we would have not had 6 million dead Jews. I mean, that's the basis of the whole thing starting. Like I said, they don't have, and I'm no big, and Antifa's not paying me. I don't have any, they've never been in my
Come
ball.
on, Lawrence. We know you're behind it all. It was you.
It's this ridiculous amount of, it's like the boogeyman. They've created Slender Man out of this, they had to have an answer. So they've created this Antifa thing that's not even real. Well, I mean, then again, what is real since Trump started?
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing. Like, this kind of facade reality. So Rhetoric Warriors, the beginning of it was me splitting it into unethical persuasion and ethical only persuasion. Because if you just split that, then we'd be fine. Unethical persuasion does stuff like facadeism, which is, hey, we can create any fiction we want, talk in the same way that everybody else talks when they're talking about reality, and it's going to get a certain number of people to believe it, because nobody gets direct experience with this stuff. It's not like you and I are going up to Portland or Seattle and witnessing what's happening every night, on a good, solid way so we can make a judgment. The only thing we can possibly get is a little bit from the media, more from the social media, and then a bunch of commentary. So you have no clue what's real.
Right.
And so the ability to come into that and tell a good facade becomes, enormously possible. And they just took advantage of it, and it's dangerous is the problem. Like when you start following facades, then anybody can get you to do whatever they want. And we start to have real problems in democracy. So ethical only persuaders always do transparency. Like none of that. You can't have any of that myth building and all that stuff without being able to go underneath it and see, well, what is Antifa? Let's talk to these people. Let's actually get some grip on it, Yeah. But the Trump world, they've weaponized unethical persuasion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's amazing to see how, powerful that's become in a sort of easy distribution, system like social media. There's no gatekeeper. You can put anything out there. And so, the facade stories come up.
Right.
And then you end up arguing about them in bars.
The argument. I like that. What you said, what do you got to pick? I have a real problem with, and, a lot of my friends say this, and I just have a problem with this whole, I'm not a conservative, I'm a libertarian. I hate that. To me, that's like a libertarian is somebody who's too big a pussy to be an anarchist. I don't want rules. Oh, you want rules in gated communities and people can't go here, and you want a strong police force to fucking stop all this. But up here, you don't want rules. You don't want to be constricted with the rules, but you want these people constricted with the rules.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what got me going with the guy in the bar fight about, you said you argue with a guy, and that's what he started going off on this libertarian. I just want anything that restricts freedom is bad. I go abortion, and that's when it all fucking went to hell. Well, you're restricting women's. That's a baby, and I'm like, restricting her freedom. Yeah, I'm like, you're restricting her freedom, so you're not really a libertarian. I don't even think that's such a thing. I think it's
well, no, it's a safety word. It's a safety word for conservatives. Like people don't know whether to hate it or not. Like they know, like if you say conservative, they kind of immediately go, oh, you're probably super religious. You're probably, super down on, immigrants and things like that. But libertarian's still vague. So it gives you some political cover. But it's conservative. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's just dodgy conservatism.
Dodgy. Well, and like I said, I've got tons of conservative friends. I'm not a hater. I don't believe in it. I don't hold it. You know, I shake my head sometimes. I'm like, what the fuck are you thinking? Um, but you know,
Well,
I
my
try.
whole thing is, and this is, again, this is as I develop the stuff more and more, it'll be better scripted and, have better words and ideas behind it. But like, essentially, I think we'd be fine with like the comedy party or the fun party.
Yeah.
Like, if you just vote for the fun people, I think we'd be fine. Like,
Yeah.
people ask me, am I a liberal? And I'm like, I don't even know what that means. What I know is that I like to hang out with fun people who are
Yeah.
smart and easy to get along with. So that's who I vote for, is the one that's closest to that.
Yeah.
And I think if if we were all just funocrats or,
Funocrats. I like that.
laughatarians,
I'm a funocrat.
we'd
There
be
you go.
fine. Just pick
Yeah,
the
totally.
fun people.
Totally.
Conservatives, my problem with conservatives isn't the belief system or whatever about keeping things slow or super valuing the past or, religiousness or any of that kind of stuff. They're not as much fun.
No.
You ever hang around that stuff? I grew up
Yeah.
around that in
Yeah.
like, evangelical Baptist and hardcore. I mean,
Ooh, can't do it.
relax.
Cannot do it. Can't do it. Won't do it. Just can't.
They're
Yeah. But
anti-comedy, right? You can't
yeah.
be yourself around that.
I like my little sister. She goes, "Hey man, I've been around the day people and the night people, and I really like the night people a lot better." He goes, now I feel sorry for most of them, but he goes, she's like, I don't have to worry about their judgment, and it's kind of a thing, I've got, like I said, I'm not, I don't like religion. I don't mind God. That whole thing is what Gandhi said. I like your Christ, but I don't like his followers.
Yeah.
Um, I don't. That's when I really have problems. I got off Facebook for like 3 months because I just couldn't handle it anymore, man.
I remember that. I remember watching you kind of go at all this stuff, and I'm like, what are you doing to yourself, buddy?
Oh, it was killing me, man. Uh, but I was just so frustrated, and that's the thing that kills me, the hypocrisy of the American. I don't know how you can call yourself an American Christian anymore if you're. I mean, I've got a friend who's a preacher who hated Trump. Well, I don't know if he hated Trump, but thought it was terrible. And I'm like, where are your? I always heard those people going, well, where are the good Muslims that are speaking up against the terrorists? I'm like, where are the good Christians? Where are those fuckers? Because you got a guy supporting a judge who was a pedophile for senator in Alabama, and nobody is speaking out against this. I mean, what the hell?
Right?
To me, I'm still flabbergasted by my friends who go to church on a regular basis, and that's mystifying to me.
Well, Trump did a bunch of stuff that nobody done before, and breaking open politics in a way that nobody had done. And I think it force fused this kind of religion and politics together. And they're not compatible. It doesn't really work. Like, you're talking about the moral dimension of being religious, right?
Right.
That you got to take care of people, you protect kids, you punish the evil, and all that kind of stuff, which is the core of true religion. It's got all that kind of rules for good and evil and what you do. That does not mix well in politics. Politics is not about those things. It's sometimes will again facade those things, but it's about power, and it's about votability. And
Right.
so when those crash together, you see that disjuncture, like you talk about that hypocriticalness of it.
Right.
And for people who are thinkers, that'll drive you nuts. But it's very easy to be in religion, which is myth and story based, and not be, a logical thinker. That's
Right.
not what it's selling. So if they tell you, hey, Trump's a good guy, we need to support him, then that's it. They're not going to investigate that claim or that direction,
Right. There
which
you
used to
go.
drive me crazy as a Catholic kid sitting in there listening to the homily. And what's it called, the homily? What do they call it when they?
A sermon more. I've always heard sermon, but I think homily is also the same. I think it's the same thing, right?
I just like that word, homily.
I do too. I
You know,
like that too.
but I remember arguing in my mind, wanting to raise my hand and say, well, are you sure about that?
Yeah.
And there's none of that. You don't stop mass for, a little bit of discussion from the 12-year-old in the back.
You should.
But if it was an intellectual based
Right.
activity, you would. And, there's a religion does a bunch of that stuff, but it does it in the side, and you have your elders and stuff like that debating it.
Right.
You don't have open debates in the, the ritual.
Yeah.
Like it's your first communion. It's not your first argument with God.
If you hear all that popping, that's my furnace. I don't know. Is that going through?
I haven't heard. I don't know. I don't have headphones on. So
my furnace gets all heated and the metal expands and goes pop. In California, I got this wall heater to heat my whole house, and it is cold out here today. So anyway, I thought, for the folks at home, for the millions at home, listen.
Well, like I said, I sell this as unproduced, communication.
Hey, I think this is good, man. You're good at this.
I enjoy it. I enjoy real conversations, and so I think that's, to me, that's what it offers: is interesting people and try to get into their minds and see what's in there. And I always like talking to you. You always have your it's a strong strand of Lawrence Thomas.
I don't know if that's good or not.
I think it is good. Everybody talks good about you. You don't have enemies.
Well, I try not to.
Except the guys who don't know you that you tackled at a bar somewhere and still bitch about you to somebody.
Yeah. Well, there was a string of about 2 months in college where they were calling me the Saturday Night Brawler. And it was every guy. Like there's still one time this guy fucking jumped me, and big dude picked up our scrum half, Scott Neff, and tossed him into a bush like he was a rag doll and just starts pummeling the shit out of me. And I'm like, I don't even know you, man. What the hell? Oh, yeah. People don't like to see a big guy having fun. Unadulterated fun. I'm going to have fun no matter what. And, I do have that smart ass in me. So that can,
That's all right. Hey, I tend to like the smart assery approach to life.
Mm.
So, well, cool, man. This was super fun. I appreciate it. Really good conversation as always.
Yeah, always. We should do it more often.
Yeah, I will circle back around. We'll podcast again, and we need to get back into a little bit more of a hey, let's catch up kind of deal.
Yeah,
we got these kids all out of the house now, so it's back to being grown-ups, I guess.
I want to go see Quincy in France, man.
Yeah, you should.
I got a friend over there. I told her, I said, you go see my friend Michelle down in Avignon. She'll treat you right, and you'll go see. That's my deal. I just want to travel. How do I do a travel podcast?
I'm sure you could watch Lawrence start a fight in every country in the world. Who's Lawrence going to fight in Thailand? Here we go.
Today, Lawrence fights in the Champs-Elysees.
That'd be awesome. That you could do that. I'm telling you, people would listen to that.
Pissing people off globally.
I love it. All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. Everybody, this is Lawrence Thomas. Come go see him at the bars in Manhattan Beach, and you still do a little stand up here and there, right?
Yeah. If there's ever going to be stand up out here again, I do it over at Dano's place over, and then again, the auditions will start at Poncho's across the street down here in Manhattan Beach. And it was funny, in 2000 at the beginning of last year, I made that. I did everything short of being a dream board. I didn't cut out any pictures or anything, but I was like laying it out. 2020, what's going to be? Well, you know what? I'm going to be back on the road in some way. I'm going to be this, better auditions. I just did Penny Dreadful, and I was like, oh, this is great. I'm going to be, start to get better rather than just COVID pulled the rug right out from under my dream board.
That's what you started all by having a dream.
Exactly.
The universe was like, what? And I'm going to shut this down.
Squash that
for everybody. I watched your Penny Dreadful, by the way. I thought that was awesome.
I haven't seen it. I still haven't.
It was great. Yeah, they gave you a bunch of close-ups, man.
Yeah, I heard it was fun to shoot, man. It was the most fun I've had acting yet.
And I believe that you were a scumbag after that young girl.
Yeah. I'm starting to get some good scumbag auditions now. Now that I got cancer scar on my face, I can really do it. So.
Really do it.
All right, buddy.
Man. Well, thanks again for listening to the Rhetoric Warriors podcast. Remember, everybody talks, You might as well get good at it. So we'll talk to you again soon.